President Biden's attempts to expand background checks on firearm sales was just temporarily blocked by a federal judge in Texas. That new rule was supposed to take effect today, but now it's not happening. So remember when I told you in this video last month that the Biden administration announced the most significant gun regulation in decades? Well, it was a rule change through the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms that clarified the definition of who must get a license to sell a gun and who must conduct a background check before selling that gun. The new rule closed the so-called gun show loophole for firearms dealers, requiring almost everyone, including some private sellers who sell firearms for a profit, to be licensed and require background checks for their customers. Well, a federal judge in Texas yesterday issued this order granting a temporary injunction to put a pause on this new rule. The states of Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Utah, and several gun rights organizations all sued. They argued several things, including that the ATF overstepped its authority when creating this rule. They say the federal government violated the Second and Fourth Amendments with the rule, and they said the rule was arbitrary. Now, the ATF didn't just make this rule up out of thin air. Congress ordered them to create it in the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act of 2022. It was Congress that expanded the definition of who is engaged in the business of dealing firearms, and the new ATF rule clarified how that definition should be applied in the real world. If you want to know all about how the rule would work specifically and who would be excluded from having to get a background check and be licensed to sell a gun, please go watch this video. Well, yesterday's order from the Texas federal judge said that Louisiana, Mississippi, and Utah did not have standing to bring the case, but Texas and the gun rights organizations did. Now, while the judge did not rule on any of the constitutional claims being brought by the plaintiffs, he did say that the new ATF regulation contradicts the text of the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act by not adding one more class of gun owners to the exception list. The judge said people who buy or sell firearms for personal protection should also be excluded. The judge also suggested there are other issues the plaintiffs would likely win on during oral arguments of the case. So until that happens, this temporary pause on the ATF rule will be in effect until June 2nd.